really need to work toward, we could be such a great suburb of Hobbs. You know, and the last time you guys wanted to annex us, part of the reasoning was, well, some of the outskirts, we got these shabby trailers and they aren't even skirted and they're not on permanent foundations. And that's kind of like out near 6-shooter or whatever. Well, now, okay, we got stick frame houses and now we got Coleman trailers that aren't even self-contained across the street in an RV park. Is that how we want to grow? Is that what we want people to look out their window and see? I don't think that's really what we want, guys. I think we need to think about that. Where we're zoning what, where we're putting what, and let's become that bed and breakfast community that we could be. So that's my public comment.
I appreciate your comments. And if you have not taken them to the commission, I would ask that you do the same. Any other comments? Oh, yes, sir.
I'm Lem Smith, and I live on 2nd Street in Gum.
Okay.
The new swimming pool that we have, or the fitness center, or whatever it's called, there's a low spot that collects water. I don't know if that's by design or what, but this fall, when we had the big rains, that thing filled up and the mosquitoes tore us up. And I don't know, it's unlined, it's not curbed. I don't know what runoff water goes in there. My concern is if it runs through the vegetation with whatever chemicals they put in will go into that, then it'll leach in and possibly get into the water table. You know, that's one thing that really concerns me. And then the laydown yard, there hadn't been any activity in that in a while, and I know we're probably still under construction, but that's awful damn ugly to look at every day. I mean, it's, you know, you got connexes and you got building partials and things like that. And the last thing I want y'all to look into is some way we can buffer the helicopter, because that thing comes. I went and got my paper at 4 o'clock the other morning, and I didn't have to turn on the light because the helicopter was warming up and their headlight was right across my driveway. And if we could put vegetation or something that would help buffer that. I know the people that live across the street are probably catching the devil because that throbbing early in the morning, and I know we have to have it, but I know there's ways that we can make it a little softer on everybody. That's basically all I have. And I do live across the street from the trailer parks, but it's established in the trailer sizes is, I believe, is what's coming up, and we can't turn it the other direction. We just have to, you know, it just has to be kind of governed, no pop-ups or anything. We need to make sure everything is good. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Any other comments? Mr. Robinette?
Ron Robinette, 1717 North 2nd. In conjunction with the construction that's been taking place over on the Wellness Center and also the apartments down the road, there's 2 roads that have all of a sudden become, well, not all of a sudden, over the past 2.5 years, have become access roads to 2nd Street. They're dirt roads. They're just using them. They're jumping the curbs. They're shining their lights in our homes early in the morning, in the evenings, driving with the brights on. I know one of them comes out right in front of her house. She gets blinded all the time. And it's dangerous. There's no signage. There's nothing. Haven't had any wrecks yet, but it's just a matter of time. And I don't know. I know you guys can do something about it or pass it along to somebody. We brought it up several times and nothing's happened, but I don't think the entrance and exit to those apartments was meant to be off of 2nd Street. I don't think the access to any construction over at the hospital is supposed to be off of 2nd Street. And it's irritating, to say the best. But,
So the two roads you're talking about?
they're just dirt roads. Somebody started using them. The one road by the, for the construction people used to run right along the fenced area when they had that area fenced for the construction of the pool. So everybody was using it. That fence is gone and they're still using it. Over at the apartments, people just started using it because Second Street has become the through street for Lovington since they closed the road just west of the hospital.
Not me.
And we get more oil field traffic, welding trucks, rig trucks, semis, water haulers, people driving up and down that road 60 miles an hour. And people pulling out of these two exits that are coming from the apartment and the construction area, just pull out there. Like I said, there's no signage, there's no curb cuts, there's nothing. So,
So they're coming out of the apartments and out of the old construction entrance?
both spots, yeah.
Okay.
And it's a constant deal. And the apartments is 7 days a week. Since they kind of slowed down on the construction over there, it's 5 days a week, you know. So, that's all I gotta say. If you can do anything about it, be great.
Thank you very much. Any other public comments? Move on to our action item. Have a motion to consider the non-conforming structure at 902 West Avenue G.
I'll make a motion to consider 902 West Avenue G non-conforming structure.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Had the citizens, the owners of 902 West Avenue G, they're requesting a non-conforming structure approval for their carport. Carport was built around 2002. It's to the, I don't know if you can see it here, by my pointer. So right here, it's to the side of the home. It sits only 3 foot 11 inches off the property line, which is supposed to be 5 foot off the property line. There's never been any complaints on it. The neighbors were informed of the non-conforming issue that's going forward and haven't had any calls on it. So it's just a setback issue.
Got pictures?
There it is a little closer up. So this is our little, the owners measured 3 foot 11 inches. I measured 3'6" to the property line. So in the resolution, we just put that it was not the appropriate 5 foot side yard setback. Any other questions? And the owners are here. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, when's a good time to check these? Does the owner have anything they want to say, or any of the neighbors regarding this item?
I didn't have any comments from neighbors. Did you need to add anything? It is a sound structure. I did look at it and make all the measurements, so.
Do you have pictures of the structure itself?
No, I don't.
Everything is on.
It is on their property.
It's on their property, it's not.
Just
over
doesn't
our-
have the 5 foot, yes. And both of those driveways, clear back to the 96 Google photo, I could see both of those driveways. The carport was, it looks like could have possibly been there, but in the 2002 picture on Google Earth, it's definitely, you can see it, so. It may have been there long before 2002.
Is it attached to the house?
It's actually, it is right up against the house, but it's not directly attached. It has its own support.
So it's supported by 4 poles as opposed to.
It's actually 6.
Just being
I think
attached to
there's
the
8,
building.
actually.
I'll make a motion to approve the non-conforming carport on the east side of the property.
Resolution 219,
Located at 902 West Avenue G with the non-compliant side yard setback. And referencing resolution 2019008. Easy.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? No further discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Need a motion to consider Van Cleve North Mobile Home Park variance.
I'll make that motion. I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes, ma'am?
Okay, Paula Van Cleve, the owner of the Van Cleve Mobile Home Park on the north end of town. It's actually on North 2nd Street, highlighted area there. This year, all the mobile home parks had to come into conformance, preparing for next year to be in conformance so they can operate their parks. When she had all her surveys and all the work done, the engineering and all that to get these mobile homes parks authorized, this one came up with a few of the spaces being a little bit shy of the 40-foot in width. They're all long enough. Everything else is good. She does have individual fences on all these spaces. So for her to tear out all the fences and to, of course, move out some of the mobile homes and some of the tenants, because she would lose spaces, and of course to rearrange all those homes so they would sit appropriately in each site, she would have to move utilities and everything. So the financial hardship would be on her to rearrange this. When we've had really no severe issues with the mobile home parks, she's actually made them all move out their storage buildings because they weren't the appropriate 15 foot away from the homes. The park is really looking really well. And she is here if you have any questions for her, or if you have any more for me. You have the list of the different spaces needing the. Okay.
Ms. Van Cleve, do you have anything you want to add?
No, excuse me. Other than, we're just like, what, 500 square feet short?
Mhm.
Some of these spaces,
Some of them are only like 300 square feet short or 400. The least amount is the 3,500 square foot lot of 9. That's the smallest of the ones requesting variance for.
Any comments for questions for Crystal or Ms. Van Cleve?
Yeah, I have a question. So you're saying that what's existing there will just stay there?
Yes. Yes, she will not move in anymore. It's not going to change. It's still just a mobile home park.
These are all pre-existing. I mean, she's had this park here forever.
Yeah,
I mean,
the park has been there. How long has that park been?
Yeah. So it's a pre-existing circumstance, and
Yes.
the ordinances came in after the fact.
Yes. She had, the fences were put in prior to 2002. I know on Google Earth, you can see them in 2002. 96, there weren't spaces, but there are already mobile homes in some of those areas.
Didn't we change the ordinance 4 or 5 years ago?
In 2014
Yeah,
is when the ordinance was changed, and they had up till 2020, or
right.
they had up to this year at the end of December to come into compliance.
Did we dramatically change the lot dimensions and or the setbacks?
It's nearly impossible to do that without making half of the people move. And where are they gonna go? My, South Park is even older. It's a it was put into existence in the 70s. And there's more spaces down there that are shy. Most of them are 35 foot wide by 120 foot deep, 20 foot which is taking up and parking in the back. And there's like 15 of them down there. And that's
The next item.
yeah, that's the next item on the agenda. But I try to make everybody keep their yards up. And like she said, I got rid of all the storage buildings. I don't have, out of all of my spaces, I only have one fella who has a storage building and he just had open heart surgery, so it's gotta wait until he's better.
I have a question, and on the trailers that are right at the corner there,
They're not mine.
they're not,
Mm-mm.
because
That's-
they don't seem to conform to any of the.
This is the only area that's hers, highlighted in yellow there.
This north of Judy's.
So the ones on the corner, are they gonna have to conform in there?
The ones on the corner are actually, that is actually an RV park. It is not a mobile home park. They're on the corner of Gum and Third. That is actually an RV park, and he is having all his engineering and stuff done right now. They will have to be certain sizes, yes.
And self-contained?
Well, RVs aren't really, there's not a regulation that makes you skirt them or anything, because they're meant to only stay there 180 days, 280.
Right, but if they don't have a bathroom in them and there's no
Oh,
porta potties.
No, actually, they're not allowed to be there if they do not have a restroom in them, because he does not have facilities on that site. That is one of the regulations in the RV park. The RV park owners cannot have trailers in there that don't have facilities unless they properly have that facility on site.
Any further questions? Crystal, I don't have a resolution number attached.
Well, because this is the variance, it has to go on
Variance.
to city commission, it will receive a resolution number at that time.
Ma'am.
Is there any way to control the size of the trailers that go on there? I mean,
They're
could
all
some-
single wide, so.
But I'm just saying, you know, with the way everything gets wider and wider, I mean, F-150 pickup truck's the size of a Mack truck now, so I assume they do the same thing with trailers, but
The legal limit of a mobile home right now, coming into the state of New Mexico, has to be 18 foot or less
why?
wide.
Okay. So I guess my only thing is with us being already shy and with the propensity of us keep making things wider, theoretically at some point in the future, you could end up even making your setbacks.
She still has to maintain her spacing of all the mobile homes have to be set in the space appropriately, and they can't be within 15 feet of each other.
But
So,
they are going to be in fees.
yes.
I'm just saying, we're, with the possibility of making them in the future shorter even still,
Mhm.
we're putting people at risk. I'm just making an observation.
Mhm.
But, I mean, with the way the statutes are now,
She can
There's
only
nothing
have
else.
single,
Not asked for a variance with the spacing.
yeah, they still have to meet all setback regulations within those spaces. Yes.
Any further questions? If none, we'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve staff's recommendation for approval of the variance for the width of spaces 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, and 19 as presented. Due to the financial hardship that would be incurred if the owner had to remove all existing fencing and mobile homes to redevelop this area to the required 40-inch wide space, 40-foot wide space.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? If none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion unanimous. Consideration of, hold on, before we do this. So I apologize, but there are rules here, and I should have covered them beforehand. If you want to speak, please come up to the podium and speak. Take your turn, and if you need to readdress something, ask again to do that. So then that way we have your name and it's part of the record for the motion. Thank you very much, and I apologize for not going through that to begin with. Motion to discuss the Van Cleve South RV Park variance.
Make that motion.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, this is the Van Cleve South Mobile Home Park. We have this pretty much the same issue. She has fenced-in lots, and as she mentioned before, this mobile home park has been in existence since the early 70s. They are long enough. She has ample space. Again, she's moved storage buildings out of this area that weren't allowed to be in there. She had to address this issue 2 years ago. The mobile home sits in the floodway on the and in the A zone, which we went through all this with FEMA. It was deemed a prior post-map, so therefore it is allowed to be there and remain unless she makes significant improvements or there is significant damage. So if it ever gets flooded out, then she would have to look at either not using that for a park no more or changing its usage to strictly RVs that could pull in and out more easily. She does have on-site markers to make sure all the mobile homes are above base flood elevation. Any new mobile homes that move in do have to be anchored to resist flotation. So there is all these other codes that she still has to go by. The variance for the width of that does not affect any of these other issues.
Anybody like to speak regarding this? Any questions for staff? No further discussion? Staff for motion.
I'll make a motion to approve staff's recommendations for approval of the variance for the width of space.
I just say it.
Okay, as written. First read.
Okay,
I'll
we have
second it.
a motion. Who's second? Debbie second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion unanimous. Motion to consider the recommendation to annex gun.
I'll make the motion.
Motion, Brenda second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Take it away, Jay.
All right, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, back in September 23rd, 2019, city staff were directed by Resolution 2019-111 to start annexation of the city property in Exhibit A, Parcel 1 and Parcel 2, which are owned by the city. This was a total of a little over, almost 50 acres of land. In addition to that, they directed us to look at annexing in additional privately owned parcels of land, which are labeled parcels 3 through 15. The method of annexation, of course, was by petition method, which is by NMSA 1978-3717. In this particular method, the owner of the majority of the acreage can petition to have the properties annexed into the city. At that time, there was one private individual who did desire to be annexed into the city. However, this basically, the original annexation petition was going to bring in an additional 104 acres of property. However, with the discussions with the one private landowner that did give the petitioners the majority, they have since changed their mind. So city staff, after discussions with the mayor, would like to proceed with the annexation of just the cemetery, which is parcel 1, and the adjacent city property, parcel 2. And basically, our revised petition for annexation would only be the city-owned property. It would not include any privately owned property. So a total of 50.3 acres would actually be brought in as shown in Exhibit P in your packets. As far as the current land use per the Lovington ETZ ordinance, both parcels are actually zoned R1. So parcel 1, of course, is one of Lovington's cemeteries. It is not completely used. And then parcel 2, of course, is vacant land at this time. However, just because of the way the ordinance is, it is zoned as residential. As far as access to city utilities, right now, as far as sewer access, we do have an office in the back, which it's only one office, basically for 3 employees, so its sewer needs are served by a septic tank. There is a water line that does provide city water to the cemetery that runs down Gum Street. As far as this tract of land here, sewer is accessed across 3rd Street, as well as tapping into water there. In Exhibit E, this is our recommended zoning assignments would be commercial for both portions if it does proceed with the annexation process. This is based on the city's comprehensive plan and also the intent of the city commission. As far as the purpose, they want to bring these city-owned properties into the city limits. We will also be able to further develop this parcel here into additional cemetery spaces and any other unused purposes as the commission would desire. As far as any property tax revenue or expenses, there are none by annexation. So just to kind of summarize before there's any questions, or if the chair does allow for public comment, this annexation request is only to annex in city-owned property. Everybody else who's here, there is no desire to bring in any additional private properties with this particular annexation request.
Any questions for James?
I have questions. Hi, James.
Hi.
You don't have to move. I only wait on Wednesdays. I'm really, obviously, it's going back to our earlier conversation about zoning.
Say your name again.
Eileen Robinette.
Thank you.
About zoning and keeping commercial and residential and being that beautiful bed and breakfast community we all want to be, and keeping our property values up. I can understand if the cemetery needs to be commercial because it's a cemetery. Got it. We really would not like to have a hotel or an oil field company across the street from us. And when you made the hospital commercial, because that's what they needed for the swimming pool, well, now we got we don't really care about the assisted living people. They're good neighbors. Now we got the apartments. We're fixing to have a hotel, and we need to discuss that, whose land they're going to be driving through. We really would prefer not to have that. Is there a reason, and maybe I wasn't listening good enough, is it because of you want part of it to be the cemetery that's got to be commercial, or because you just want to put a grocery store there later?
Let me pull another map up. Somebody's phone ringing right now would break up the awkward silence.
Honey.
Betty.
She needs a phone call.
Come on. This is almost like one of those karaoke dots. We just need some
Yeah.
lyrics. Well, what I was wanting to show you is on the current zoning map, which we'll pull up over here in just a second. Actually, everything to the east And to the north of Gum is currently already zoned commercial.
Is that because when you did the wellness center, you changed the
Negative.
zoning?
No, ma'am, it has been commercial probably since 1971.
Seems to me like they changed the zoning.
There was zoning changed for the apartment complex. That was changed from an A to a B.
And wasn't, where the wellness center is, was changed to industrial or something, wasn't it?
No, ma'am, it was not. It's still Zone B, but because the wellness center is a function of the hospital, it does fit within the zoning of that, for the zoning code.
So what is your, other than part of that being a cemetery, what is your ambition for that? There's a lot over there.
Well, it could be for additional housing, it could be for additional other commercial purposes. To be honest, there's,
Housing is residential.
yes, but you can have housing in a commercial zone as well. So,
Right, but then you can have an oil company.
so if you look, these are the properties in question here.
Mhm.
Cemetery, this is the adjacent, this is 3rd Street, this is Gum. This blue area is all zone commercial.
Okay, and everything to the left of it is
Yes.
residential. Right now, it sits as residential, that lot you're gonna, right?
It's currently zoned R1,
Right,
yes,
residential.
in the ETZ, yes. But that's everything in these ETZ, which pretty much just falls back into a residential zone, unless it gets switched to commercial. There are some commercial areas further to the west. There's commercial areas along Plains Highway, also outside the city limits to the south of town.
Well, we'd like to see it stay residential for whatever that's worth.
Thank you.
Any other people would like to comment on this?
So several years ago, there was we had an analysis done and a new report that put together. From that report, the ordinance was changed that allowed annex properties to come in and what surrounding need, or what the surrounding conditions were, or what the growth plan and expansion plan for the city was. And so, prior to that, the ETZ did require that it come in as an R1. And I think that was changed, James, was it 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
Maybe 4 years ago.
Was it that far back? Two of those reasons were because of, well, one of them was off of 483, and I don't remember the other one. Anyway, that was, with the study that was done, that was the best way to be able to control growth. And so areas that are currently commercial, that don't make sense, are not zoned that way in the future. Areas that are residential are not zoned that way in the future. So, with that, I said, from a cemetery standpoint, it makes sense. Is there anybody else that would like to speak on this?
Ron Robinette. James said that part of parcel 2 could be designated as part of the cemetery. Is that the long-term goal
Yes,
for it? Because they're out of room,
Well, we're
or
not.
running out of room? I mean, it's,
Well,
let's face it, it's falling up fast.
Get in there?
yeah, that's a little suburb. No, yes, it is the intent to at least half of that be expanded into the cemetery.
Okay, and then you mentioned that possibly you could put housing or something like that.
Correct.
on the
That
other
would be
portion.
total, yes, sir.
Okay, well, my concern about that would be, if there was multi-family housing on there or single-family housing on there, the obvious and best route into town is right down Second Street. they're not gonna use the bypass, they're not gonna go up Gum and go around the hospital, they're gonna come right down Second, they're gonna hit Birch or Polk and get on Main. So, that would be a big concern for me. I mean, the traffic, like I said before, the traffic on Second Street right now is probably at least quadrupled in the last 5 or 6 years. So, I'd like you guys to consider that I know this is down the road, but, Second Street's the only shot into town from there. That's expedites anybody's travels, I think. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cliff Stevens?
I live over 801 West Gum. The traffic, I don't know if y'all have anything to do with this or not, but the traffic that comes off of 9th Street, probably 60% of them never stop at that stop sign, and there's no speed zone from Gum or 9th Street down nearly to 3rd Street. There's no speed limit sign. I know it's supposed to be 35, but the people that come off of 9th Street and go down east on Gum, they don't see no speed limit signs. And there's gonna be somebody killed there pretty soon, because they drive extremely fast, especially these young boys and girls in Mustangs and these hopped up pickups. And even the 18-wheelers now are starting to speed down through there. And people coming out of the cemetery, if they're not watching, I've seen it happen several times. It's pretty dangerous. They need a stop sign or speed limit sign on both sides of Gum from 9th going east on Gum, if there's anything possible to be done.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens.
I'll have one more comment on that.
Yes, ma'am.
Eileen Robinette, I forgot what it was. Oh, he's right, and as we've kind of discussed before, is that is a bypass. And I would think you'd want the traffic to flow and to bypass and get out of town or get wherever they're going. And the more you put on that road, well, the more people you're gonna have stopping and coming in and out of traffic, which is gonna be a hazard. And if it is a bypass, the point is to be able to flow nonstop. So for future growth, that's something that you really should consider is how much starting and stopping do you want on that road? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff? Any questions for staff? If there are no questions,
I'll make a motion that would recommend the annexation of city property only and provide the Zone C commercial zoning to the annexed territory.
I have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? None being, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hold on. I got 3.
I said aye.
Yes, I got you, and I got yours.
Aye.
Huh? Aye. 4.
Scott?
Opposed?
No.
No.
What do we have? How many votes?
We
Four to two.
have
4 to 2. Motion carries. Thank you. With this, for the people that want to, this will go to commission. And ultimately, I mean, just a recommendation board. So at the end of the day, this goes to commission for the people that are voted into office to make the final decision. I need a recommendation to consider the, wait a minute, where are we at?
I went 43 annexation.
Yes, 483.
I'll make that motion.
So a recommendation to consider, and a motion, or a second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, we were directed also on September 23rd by Resolution 2019-110 by the City Commission to annex our city-owned property that is actually located off of Highway 483 or the Arkansas Junction, identified as Parcel 7. A total of 94.3 acres is being annexed into this, with the majority of the petitioners holding 56.64. As you can see, we do own the majority of this acreage. As far as current land use and ETZ zoning, the majority of it is actually zoned R1 by default, with the exception of this 5-acre tract here, which was rezoned for commercial a couple of years ago. These two parcels here were also rezoned as commercial. As far as current use, this was the site of the former workforce housing development, which has since been vacated. This is used as for residential purposes. Even though there is a house here, they rezoned that so they could operate a food establishment or food truck. This is zoned as residential and actually being used as residential, and this is these two tracts are both vacant. As far as access to city utilities, there's access to water and sewer, and to essentially all parcels of land. The only one that will have difficulty would be this particular parcel here. There's water and sewer off the Denko addition, as well as water down Bryan Erlacher for these tracts. Actually, this tract currently already has water to it, city water provided to it. Additional sewer access would have to be facilitated by going underneath the bypass to get to that particular section. As far as the proposed zoning, the majority of this would fall under commercial and economic zone. The economic zone would be the yellow portions. The green would remain as commercial. The zoning recommendations based on the comprehensive plan. Zone E, of course, will still allow those properties be used for residential purposes. As you're aware, that the minute that they start using it for a commercial purpose, it can't go back to a residential application. But it would not require individuals to be forced out of their homes. As far as the purpose of the annexation, why is that not in there? The purpose of this annexation is to bring in this particular property here, as well as making everything contiguous to the city limits. The city does own this. We purchased this about 2 years ago for the need for property, but also the additional water rights to meet our 40-year water plan. Future municipal development includes a retention pond to help facilitate drainage for the Denko addition, as well as the site of a new animal services facility. Our current our animal shelter is well below what we need. We need a larger facility that's more up to date as well. And many years down the road, we're talking like 15 years, 15, 20 years, that could be the potential site of a third fire station to accommodate growth. In addition to that, the city would be able to divide that to meet the needs for additional housing, whether it's multifamily or it could be a potential business park. The city doesn't require all 56 acres. We want to subdivide this into areas that we will set aside for future municipal development, and then more than likely an RFP will be issued for further development of this particular property. That's all I have.
Is there anybody here in the audience that would like to speak to this? Joe? No.
Richard Choate, and parcel 1 is my property off 483. I guess my question would be again, the reason of bringing me in along with the city on this?
We were directed by the city commission to do this. And as we have the majority of the acreage, it would be beneficial for us to do that. It's
Wait.
already receiving city services.
Yeah, I know, but is that the criteria, just because you're getting city services?
No, sir. Honestly, that is, we were told we would like you guys to annex this in with this additional property.
So that's the only reason.
That is the reason that, yes, that is exactly what I was told in the resolution we were directed. Annex
Okay.
these particular things in, and also to square up our city limits, yes, sir.
Well, our city limits is, there's so many variances in our city limits. I mean, there's properties across from, actually our gymnasium that are still county, right in the middle of the city. So, to me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. I guess the way you've presented this, you are the majority landowner.
Yes, sir.
But in all honesty, this whole property around this is all mine. So you're affecting me. I feel like I'm the majority landowner that's affected in this deal, owning property around this. And I know it's kind of nitpicking, but kind of the way I feel. So, and I'm a little concerned about what the city's going to do with their property across from me. You know, I don't know what your future plans are. You're talking about a animal shelter and then houses and,
Correct, yes, sir. That's one, well, so from the municipal standpoint, the retention pond, the animal shelter, and another fire station.
Okay,
So we're only needing probably about 15 of those 56 acres.
will those be toward the north end?
That is yet to be determined yet. The first step that we have to do is bring it into the city limits so that
Okay.
we can subdivide it. After that, it could be turned into an expansion of the Banco addition. If there was a developer who was interested in that, or it could be a business park. It definitely wouldn't be, any industrial type applications, hence
Okay.
why it would be commercial. So we wouldn't be talking about, tank batteries or anything like that.
Okay. Well, I'm not anti
Right.
being annexed in. I guess I just wanted an explanation
Yes, sir.
of how my property got thrown in with, I guess, the east side of 483. Okay. That's all I got.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak on this? Comments for staff? Questions for staff?
Are we gonna, the city is gonna be providing sewer and water to all them zones once they're annexed into the city?
They, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, they currently have access to water and sewer.
So are we able to supply that? Are we able to sufficiently supply water and sewer to them
Yes.
zones?
Yes. If they so chose to tap into it.
Any other questions for staff? If there are none, somebody make a motion or not? Just so you guys understand the rules, if this dies for a lack of a motion, it goes in front of the commission.
I'm right in that motion.
Okay.
See what I mean? Approve the recommendation of annexing the city and privately owned parcels of land located on Highway 483 and assign zoning classifications of annexed parcels. Is that what you need?
Nice motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign? So, one nay.
I'm abstaining.
You're abstaining?
I have 2 for, 2 against, and 1 abstain.
Brenda, did you vote? Yes. Okay. Who's against?
Were you against?
Against. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, and 1.
3 against, 2 for, 1 abstain.
Okay.
Or-
What do you have?
I have 2 for,
No, it's 3 for.
3, Brenda,
3
myself,
of them for,
and myself, that's 4.
yes. And then Scott, Mr. Brian are against.
No, I seconded it.
Motion carried. Thank you. Recommendation for the annexation of property located between 14 and 1500 block of North Main.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, the owners of this 7.83 acre tract located between 2nd Street and Main Street have submitted a request for annexation and zoning. This is the only property to be annexed in this particular request. No other properties are included, as indicated on Exhibit A. So when we look at the current land use, it is currently predominantly vacant. It is zoned R1 per the ETZ ordinance. There is a residence here, and it's our understanding that will be removed. It was being used as a single-family dwelling. Right now, we do have access, or they do have access to expand utilities for water and sewer to service the tracts of land. So there is sufficient access to those particular utilities. As far as zoning, they have requested that if you were to create First Street to run all the way down the middle of this, everything to the east of it would be for Zone E. Everything to the west of it would be Zone B for multifamily and single-family dwelling. What this does conform to the characteristics of the area. It is a kind of a border before in this particular area where you start to see some more of the commercial, and we also have some multifamily housing to the north of it. The purpose of this particular petition is to allow them to locate a new hotel on the Main Street side of this project, as well as a little bit of retail development on this particular side. After visiting with the petitioners and the purchasers of this particular property, they are looking at developing single-family dwelling housing on this particular side, not an apartment complex. However, to maintain some of that flexibility, if they want to install potentially maybe some duplexes, it would be zoned accordingly to where they could put duplex housing in there, but not an apartment structure such as the Lovington Trail Apartments.
Is there anybody that would like to speak on this?
I would.
Yes, sir.
Ron, I'll have
Did you say there's water and sewer available to that property right now?
There's water and sewer in this alley down here.
Okay, so those are,
First and second.
so you would extend,
They
whoever would extend
yes,
it,
Yes, sir.
and then,
Or they actually have the option to bring it in from up here, up from the north.
okay, and so they're gonna cut it right in half off of First Street? That's what they're proposing? That's
Yes,
what
sir.
they wanna do?
Yes, sir.
Are they gonna extend First Street?
That is totally up to those particular property owners, yes, sir.
Okay, so the property that's east of Second Street, let's say they did build single-family houses in there,
Yes, sir.
all accessed off of Second?
Well, if they extended First Street, they could have access off of First Street.
Okay. And it's my understanding they're gonna put a motel on the eastern portion of that property?
That is, yes,
And
sir.
it's all accessed off the main?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, that's all I needed, thanks.
I have one question. Eileen Robinette. Who would extend First Street, the city or the developer?
The developer.
Okay, that would be my question. Thank you.
I got a question. Is it mandated that the First Street would have to be developed, or it's completely up to their discretion?
It's up to their particular discretion.
So they could still have it divided like this, but never, but not put a street?
Correct, yes, sir.
And just to clarify, Eileen Robinette. So they could put in duplexes or single family, but that zoning, Zone B, says it will not be apartments?
No, they have the ability to put in apartments if they would like.
They're just saying that
But
they're,
in visiting with the developer, at this time, they do not have any intention of putting apartments. They're actually intending on putting in single-family dwellings.
Ron Robinette.
Yes, sir.
The apartment complex just to the, that'd be north of zone, of E. Do you see that dirt trail that's going on the west side of the apartments out to Second?
Yes, sir.
That's the new entrance and exit for the backside of that apartment complex, in case anybody needed to know.
one part of that.
Any other questions for staff? James, to clarify, if one of the commission members wanted to, could they limit the zone B to duplex? And
No, I don't think you could. You can't.
any further discussion? If there is none, we'll take a motion.
I'm so good at reading these, huh? I would make a motion that we annex privately owned parcels of land between 1400 and 1500 block of North Main Street and North Second Street and assign zone reclassifications to the annexed parcel.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I have a point for this that I want part of the motion. We've had several different people talk tonight about their concerns about Second Street. And with this, I just want to stress heavily to staff that as things continue to develop along this and different areas, we need to be cognizant of the traffic that we are adding to the residential road. And traffic studies and compensating for that additional traffic needs to be something that we need to be very careful about as we continue to grow. I mean, growth is a great thing. I'm not opposed to this at all, but I am cognizant of the concerns that are being put out there. Motion carries. Motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn this meeting.